Hello and welcome back to Reddit Read, a channel where we read Reddit stories and discuss them. No AI voices here, I read the stories myself. Today's theme is green for Can You Guess What? Probably not, because it really doesn't make sense. It's relationship drama. Reddit is home to some of the craziest relationship videos on the entire internet, and we are going to be reading some of them today. So without any further ado, no rambling in the intro here, let's get into our first story. Our first story comes from r/relationships, posted 10 years ago, but was also reposted into Best of Redditor updates, so you know it's gonna be good. The title reads, my 25-year-old woman husband, 27-year-old man wants a paternity test on our son. There is a trigger warning for this, accusations of infidelity and abandonment, so beware. Originally posted December 23rd, 2014. Oh my God, I was in elementary school. Here we go. My husband and I have been together 6 years and married for 3. Our relationship has always had a bit of trust issues from both sides. I figured no one is perfect and it never seemed that big of a problem. But obviously now with this situation, I feel like I'm missing a huge red flag. And by the way, this is relevant. I am white and my husband is black. We had our first child 2 years ago. Things were great. My husband is a wonderful father and very involved and supportive. Our daughter looks like a perfect mix of the two of us. Our daughter was a planned pregnancy, but our son less so, although we were pretty careless with condoms around the time I conceived. My husband was just as great during the pregnancy, and he did a lot with our daughter to give me breaks when I was sick. He took the week of my due date off and pampered me the whole time. Literally the minute he saw our son, that all changed. He actually walked out of the delivery room. I wasn't really focused on him at the moment, but it was tearing me up until I saw him again, which was when he brought our daughter to visit. He basically ignored me and our son the whole time. I knew something was wrong, but I really couldn't figure it out. I thought maybe he had been hit with a crazy new father-son feelings and was wrestling with them, so I left him alone for a while. Finally, last night, I asked him what was going on, and he said he'd email me because he was too angry to talk about it. Email is crazy. This morning, I received his email, and it was basically him saying our son is a white baby, and he clearly is not the father. He told me he won't be involved in me or our son's lives until he gets a paternity test proving he is the father. This really blew me away. I haven't told anyone yet because it's so new. I'm kind of hoping he's being a crazy dad and we will laugh about this soon, so I don't want to tell anyone and taint their image of him. At the same time, I'm pissed because he is saying he thinks I cheated and he can't talk about me to it. And right now, I think he's really stupid. Our son is much lighter than our daughter, but he still looks like his dad. I'm not doing the test, but I don't know how to reply to his email other than with a big fuck you. I feel like if I say no, then he will just divorce me, and I don't want this to tear up an otherwise happily family. TLDR, my husband thinks our son isn't his. How do I refuse a paternity test without ending our marriage? Well, that's interesting because I don't know what has convinced this guy that he's not the father besides like, oh, he's not black enough, which isn't always really how that works. And I mean, OP said at the beginning that there's been trust issues in the relationship, and that's clear here because he has somehow convinced himself that because his child isn't black enough, that means that his wife cheated on him, which that's a reach that he's making. And yeah, clearly there's trust issues if he's able to make that reach and like genuinely commit to it and believe that. Now, I want to read a comment here because it is very relevant to this, so I'm going to read this. Just to clarify, this is the comment. Just to clarify, did you cheat on your husband? Your post is filled with indignation, but you never actually state that you didn't cheat, and there's no way the baby could be someone else's. And then the original poster said, there is 0% the baby could be anyone else's. I did not cheat. In fact, my husband is the only man I've ever had sexual contact with. Yeah, so she didn't cheat. I mean, of course, we're having to take her word on that, but we kind of have to take a Reddit story for what it is. So she didn't cheat. So I think at this point, he could just be feeling some things about having another kid, and he could just be in his head about this. And At this point, he really just needs to talk to her. Like, they need to talk to each other. They need to talk this out. They need to communicate, which I feel like is of the crux of a lot of Reddit stories, especially when it comes to relationships, is like, you guys are just not communicating well, because he's such a bad communicator that he couldn't even say this to her face. He had to send her an email. That's fucking crazy. But he does seem oddly paranoid about this because, like, what's going to happen when maybe she does take the test? All right. I actually don't know what's going to happen with this, but let's say she does take the test and it's going to say, yeah, the kid's yours. Well, now he just looks like a paranoid psycho. And here's the thing about that. A lot of times when somebody's paranoid about their partner cheating, they're actually the ones that are cheating, because they're like, oh, well, if I can do this, then you could also be doing it. And they build up resentment for their partner because they think that they are cheating, but actually they're the ones cheating. And they're like, well, I can do this, so you could also do this. And that scares me. Another comment here: assuming you truly haven't cheated, you do realize that getting the test will show that he's deeply paranoid and that you won't continue the relationship unless you both go into couples therapy, right? Not getting the test under these circumstances will only lead to you being forced to test your son in the divorce. I simply do not understand your logic here. Okay, so that commenter's saying, I don't understand why you're not doing the test. You should just do it just to prove that he's being dramatic and crazy about this. I do kind of agree with that, but also at the same time, no, because I can see where the commenter's coming from, but also I don't think you should really give in to someone's delusions like that, because like clearly the husband is being delusional and paranoid for thinking this. So I don't think it's always good to give in to people's delusions like that, because then when he finds out that he's wrong, he's going to be even more devastated about this. I think the biggest issue here is the lack of trust. Like, he can't trust that his wife said, no, what are you talking about? Of course I didn't cheat on you. He doesn't trust his wife enough to believe what she says. And I think that's the crux of the issue here, is that he doesn't trust her for some reason. And like I was saying earlier, that might be because he's actually cheating. And he's like, well, if I can do it, you can do it. So, and I haven't read ahead if that's what happens. I'm just great at guessing. I don't know what happens with this one. And this commenter's saying that her email response should be, I will get our son paternity tested, and when you see that he is yours, we will do couples therapy together, or I will immediately divorce you. This level of paranoia is not something I can live with for the rest of our lives. I'm beyond hurt and disgusted by your accusation, and I don't feel like I know the man I married anymore. That's totally fair. Yeah, I would not blame her at all for getting the paternity test, showing that he's wrong, and then being like, look, I will still divorce you anyways, because clearly you do not trust me. I honestly wouldn't blame her for doing that at all. But let's find out what happens, because we have an update. Our first update. There is more than one here, and this is 3 days later. So December 27th, 2014. I love these. They're like journal entries. Sorry if this post leaves out important details. I see I did last time. I'm just busy, but last time many of you helped, so here goes. Just to clarify, since many people seem to focus on this, neither of us have cheated. By trust issues, I just meant unwarranted jealousy, I guess. For example, we used to have a rule about not hanging out with the opposite sex friends alone, but that was when I was 19. The rule has basically ended as long as my husband knows about it. Now it's mostly him getting nervous if I take too long to answer texts or something. Well, I answered the email with a simple son, in parentheses, is your son. We will talk about it when you get home. My husband came home that night completely different than he had been in the 2 weeks our son has been home. He actually picked him up and talked to him, which was the first time he had done so. I was doing a little art project with our daughter, and then it was dinner time, so we didn't have a chance to talk until she was in bed. Based on the advice here, I had been prepared to discuss why he immediately went to cheating and then consent to the test. Then he told me he had already done the test the first day our son was home when the results, oh my God. But when the results came back for him being the father, he was still paranoid about me cheating now that the birth had planted the seed. What the? So he sent me the email basically hoping I would confess. When I didn't, he decided it was finally okay to trust me, and that's why he was much more pleasant. I told him I want couples therapy, and he said no, which is what he always says when I have asked in the past. And I wanted to say I would leave him if he didn't, but the reality is I can't raise a toddler, an infant by myself, and I don't want to have split custody. Our holidays were pretty much ruined. I can barely look at him, but luckily it was our son's first time out, so I had an excuse to be busy. The morning before our daughter was awake, he actually did apologize and said he could see how much everything was hurting me, and if I wanted therapy, he would do it. I said okay, though I feel like the time to say that was 2 days ago. I don't mean to hold a grudge, but what I'm feeling is I just don't love him anymore. Always wanting me to tell him where I was going and who I was going with to one thing, but accusing me of cheating and denying our son is a whole different thing. He has been a great dad since the convo, but it's like 2 weeks too late. Not the update I was hoping to give. I wanted him to come home with flowers and apologies and say he didn't need a test, but we'll go to therapy and see how that goes. TLDR, husband tested paternity behind my back. We are going to therapy. Yeah, so that's crazy that he did it behind her back without saying anything. And still, after that was before he sent her the email. So he did the test. It's like, yeah, dude, like, this is your son. Like, what are you talking about? He still was so paranoid that she was cheating that he sent that email. And still, I can't believe that. I really can't believe that. Like, clearly he has some deep-rooted trust issues with her. Like this, what she said in that update, which is common in these Reddit stories, is it'll be like, the post will be about one thing, and then they'll say something else in like an edit or an update that's like, oh, well, that's actually really bad too. Like that whole rule that they used to have that's like, oh, you can't hang out with friends of the opposite sex alone. Like, okay, you don't trust each other at all. And she's like, oh, but that was when I was 19, and how old are they now? 25 and 27. But still, clearly he doesn't trust her. Like, that hasn't changed. I am now even more convinced that this guy has actually been cheating on her for like the past 10 years, because there's one more final update here. And I'm like, it is just so common that when somebody is so suspicious of their partner cheating to the point where even if they have literal proof and evidence that they're not, they still think they are, it's almost always because they are the ones cheating, and that's why they're so paranoid about it. And I'd be surprised if that's not the case here, but let's read some of the comments from that. Looks like he has trust issues. Has he cheated on you before? Some people get worried that they may get what they deserve. I would have asked him if he had cheated on me. Why would he be that worried? Something must have happened to him. Either someone cheated on him before or he has cheated. And then OP responded to that and said, after reading these comments and doing a little Googling, I'm afraid to ask. I will bring it up in therapy. Okay, well, if you're afraid, well, honestly, if you're even at the point where you have to ask your partner, are you cheating on me? Like, it's probably already over and you probably already know that, but you don't want to come to that realization. And I feel like that's where she's at now. She's like, oh, well, I'm afraid to ask him. Because I think she probably knows what the answer is, but she's afraid to like face that truth. Another comment, wait, so this dude already had a secret test done, then lied and pretended like he was legitimately suspicious of the son's parentage and demanded another test just to try and trick you into admitting you cheated at some point. That's super fucked up on so many levels. If for some reason you're not leaving this guy over doing that shit that messed up, stuff like that would never fly in my relationship. This is definitely something to bring up in counseling. It really feels like this guy isn't looking at you as a partner, but from the point of view as a warden with a prisoner he needs to keep tabs on. Yeah, literally. OP responds to that, said, from what he said, he had only just received the results. It wasn't the whole 2 weeks or anything. I haven't told anyone because I'm worried what they will think, and honestly, it's embarrassing to admit this is all happening, but my eyes are being opened hearing outsiders' perspectives. I think in a few days, I'm going to talk to his mom. My mom lives states away, and she and I have always been close. Yeah. This is a common thing with these Reddit stories, because even in this comment, she's still trying to like defend it. It's like, oh, well, maybe he just got the results. But I'm glad that she is starting to see it from other people's perspectives, because that's a common thing. Because that's such a common thing with these Reddit stories and relationships is they let so many red flags fly. They let so many things that are just absolutely insane fly. But you somehow rationalize in your brain that it's okay, because when you're in love with somebody, you have like blinders on. And sometimes you're completely blind to the bad things that they do because you're like, oh, but I love them. And, I understand that. And And something else that's common with these Reddit stories that I feel like I see a lot is that the people that are originally posting about it and are kind of like stuck in this relationship that's clearly terrible, like their partner's clearly terrible, is that they usually don't have a good support system. Like they don't have a lot of friends. Like they only have their partner. So they don't have anyone else to like talk to this about. And that's usually why people are posting on Reddit in the first place, is because they don't have a support system. They don't have anyone else to talk to, because I feel like in so many of these situations, I'm like, if you had a support system, if you told some of your friends about this, they would be like, if they were good friends, they wouldn't lie to you and be like, oh yeah, I understand. They'd be like, no, this is insane. Like this guy is insane. So that's why it's important to have a really good support system. And that's why I'm glad in this final comment, she's going to talk to his mom, who she's close with. I think that's because she's like, oh, I'm embarrassed to tell anyone about it. And like, that just really shows that you know that it's bad, but you have those blinders on. So you're like, oh, well, he's my husband. I love him. I'm going to defend him. Like, I know it's bad, but we have one final update from this one from March 4th, 2016. So that is 15 months later. So over a year later, my bet is on divorce. I hope she divorced his ass. Let's see. It's been a year since my last post, and so much has changed. I've been lurking on Reddit most of that time and occasionally debating updating, but the amount of messages I received that had the N-word in it made me hesitate. Jesus Christ. But I feel good about how everything is going at this point, and I hope this might help someone else. My ex and I are no longer together. Hell yeah. He bailed on the therapy at multiple points and his behavior became more and more unstable. I told his mom and she tried to talk to him about it all. In response, he moved out and basically disappeared. We are not divorced, but we have had no contact since February 2015. The longer we spent apart, the more I realized how free I felt. I downplayed his issues a lot in my post because I was still stuck in it all. I was not allowed to leave the house hardly at all while caring for our daughter. I had no friends and limited contact with my family, exactly what I was saying, and even though he had his good moments, he was just horribly mean in the most underhanded way. Telling me I was eating too much, asking why I hadn't showered that day because I smelled. I didn't. Making comments about hoping our daughter didn't grow up like me. Jesus Christ. It was never that he hit me or screamed at me or even got mad, so it never felt like that big of a deal to me until I had space. Okay, so I'm going to pause for a second because this is kind of what I was saying. One of those classic cases where they post about one thing and then in an update, they're like, oh yeah, and he also does all this other stuff, but that's whatever. And that's what she's saying here. The original post was about the paternity test. And she's like, oh, but yeah, he tells me I eat too much. He's like, and he tells me I fucking smell bad. And he hopes our daughter doesn't grow up like me. And he says it right to my face. I'm like, okay, so he's a fucking asshole. Anyways, let me finish reading this. My kids are doing great. My daughter misses her dad a lot. He really did treat her well, but I know she's better off without him. His mom is still a big part of our lives, and that helps. I started working, and she watches my kids during the day. I'm glad they are completely losing that side of their family. I love my job, talking to my family often, and being able to go to the store without being interrogated. It was difficult at first to adjust, but now I wouldn't go back for anything. We aren't divorced and we don't have a custody agreement, which I know I need to do now. It took me this long to really feel stable and to be able to tackle it, but it's my next step. I hope this helps at least one person recognize that they might not be in as good of a relationship as they think and that it is really better on the other side. Thanks to all the commenters that first planted the seed that my relationship was not as great as I thought. Wow, so actually pretty good ending. Turned out good for OP, and she was kind of the only good one in the situation, her and the guy's mom. But the guy fucking sucks. I mean, and it's exactly what I was saying. Like, she had those blinders on, and now that she's been out of it for a year, she's like, oh yeah, he did this. He said I fucking smell like shit, and he hopes our daughter never grows up like me. So yeah, he's just clearly an asshole. And she had those blinders on because she was just stuck in it. And I'm glad that she finally realized that. And now she has a better support system. She's still in close contact with his mom, which is great. But I'm glad she got out of it. I hope she's doing well. That last post was March 4th, 2016. So it's been, oh my God, it's been 10 years since that post, which makes me feel really old. So anyways, that was a kind of a crazy one to start us off. That had a nice update with a whole journal log. I really like that. Anyways, on to our next story, which comes from r/relationships. My boyfriend of 7 years said he never wants to get married, even though he has told me he would marry me in the past. What do I do? Well, probably divorce him. Well, actually, not divorce. I mean, break up because you're not even. I'm writing this in the middle of the night and it's been a very emotional time, so please forgive me if this isn't worded well. My boyfriend, 28-year-old man, and I, 28-year-old woman, have been dating for 7 years now. Earlier, my boyfriend, we'll call him JT, and I went to one of his extended family's gatherings, and I was only there for a short time because I had made a prior commitment earlier in the week. Anyway, while we were together visiting with his family, I made a joke, something to the effect of, well, last time this happened, I met JT, so now that it's happened again, I'm hoping I'll finally get a ring. To which JT jokingly replied, nope, that's never gonna happen. Now, it got a bit awkward and quiet after he said that, and his family and I aren't really that close due to other unrelated reasons, but it was kind of embarrassing for me that he would reply that way in front of his family. Now, I didn't say anything about it until we both came back home from our respective events, and we were in the privacy of our own home. I calmly let him know that it wasn't cool of him to do that and that I was hurt and embarrassed by the comment. As he knows, marriage is a big deal to me. Afterwards, he just got quiet and didn't apologize for saying it or say anything at all. I asked him if he was sorry because it upset me or because he shouldn't have said it at all because he didn't mean it, ? Admittedly, at this point, I was getting a bit irritated at the lack of a response. Eventually, he responds that he was sorry that it upset me, but that he doesn't ever want to get married. Now, early on in the relationship, I had told him that I want to get married and that it is important to me, and if he didn't want it, then we should be fair to each other and end the relationship. I would also check in from time to time to make sure I was doing my part to be a good girlfriend and that he still wanted to get married eventually. He always responded that I was good and that he does want to marry me. Now, 7 years in, I'm just finding out the truth about how he feels. I feel so hurt and heartbroken. I feel like I've been lied to all this time. I broke down crying and so did he. He asked if he could work on it and if eventually that would be okay. I told him that I didn't want him to do it just for me. He had to do it because he wanted to. I eventually had to get some space and got in my car and just drove 5 minutes away to a parking lot. Well, I called my older sister to ask for advice. The whole time he was blowing up my phone and asking me to come back and saying that he didn't want to lose his best friend and didn't want to start over. I messaged him back that I just needed a bit of time and that I was safe and that I'd be home soon as I could to bring myself to. While talking to my sister, she tried to see things from both sides and give advice on how to handle the situation. She also reminded me of the incident that happened within the first year of our relationship. I unfortunately made a drunken mistake and honestly felt taken advantage of that night, which JT knows about because I told him the day after it happened and he said he forgave me for. And nothing like that has ever happened again. I even told him that if he wanted to end the relationship because of it, I would be heartbroken, but I would understand. She told me that he might not bring it up, but it probably does still hurt him and that it might be part of the reason why he doesn't want to commit. When eventually I calmed down enough that I could come back home, I barely even got a hug or anything from him, and he didn't seem upset still from our conversation earlier. I still told him that I loved him and that I just needed some time to process things. After a little while, I asked him if that incident was part of the reason why he didn't want to get married to me, and he said yes, that it still hurts and he still thinks about it from time to time. I asked him if there was anything I could do to work through this. I asked if we went to couples counseling if that would help. He said he doesn't know. I'm so heartbroken right now and I don't know where we'll go from here. I thought this was the man I was going to marry and I feel like I won't find anyone else that would want to be with me and marry me. I don't know if I could live my life without him in it. I love this man with all my heart and soul. He is my best friend, my whole world, and I feel like my world is falling apart at the moment. What do I do? How do I go about trying to fix this issue in our relationship? Okay, now I am really curious about what this incident is because I'm going to read that again because I don't think I really understood what happened there. She says, I unfortunately made a drunken mistake and honestly felt taken advantage of that night. That's really all she says about it. We don't have details on that. And he says that that's the reason why he doesn't want to get married. And we don't really know what that is. But also, I think he's lying about that. Whatever that incident that happened, he's saying that's why he doesn't want to get married. I think he's lying about that. I think he's just saying that to try to cover his ass and be like, oh, actually, it's your fault. If you didn't do this, we could get married. I think he probably didn't want to get married from the beginning, but he didn't want to, and this is the thing is like, I can understand that maybe he's just trying to be nice and not be like, oh, I don't want to, we could have a good like friendship. I don't want to tell her that I don't want to get married. So she just ghosts me. Like, I can understand that, but you got to be honest with yourself about what you really want. And you got to be honest with anyone you're getting in a relationship with when it comes to stuff like that, because then this is what happens. You end up in a situation like this where you've been together for a long time and now you both just realize that you want completely different things, even though you both kind of knew that from the beginning, but you didn't communicate it effectively. Again, it's always about the communication in these Reddit stories. He just didn't communicate to her, oh, I actually don't want to get married. Instead, he actually lied and said that he does want to get married. He says it's about this incident. I don't think so. I think he's lying. But he's also being completely selfish here because he's blowing up her phone while she's in this parking lot being like, no, come back, please come back. And he's doing it for selfish reasons because he's like, well, I don't want to get married. It's like, but you do. And he's like, well, you should stay because I want to get married. And it's like, okay, that's what you want. That's not what she wants. When two people disagree on something this fundamental in a relationship, you have to agree to disagree and realistically not be together. And I know she doesn't want that either, but again, she's kind of got those blinders on because she's like, I love him. I don't know what I would do without him. I can't, she says, I don't know if I could live my life without him in it. Yeah, you definitely can, but you won't realize that until after you've been out of it and you take those blinders off your eyes. But I mean, at the end of the day, they want completely different things out of a relationship, and that is 100% a valid reason to break up. There really is no unvalid reason to break up. Like, you can break it up with anyone for really any reason, but this is a fantastic reason to break up with someone. Oh, I want to get married. Oh, you don't? Oh, I guess we're breaking up then. Like, I don't think you should ever compromise like your goals. Like, if your goal out of a relationship is to get married, if that is like your primary goal, you should not be expected to compromise on that, and you shouldn't compromise on it. But let's read some of the comments here. The whole time he was blowing up my phone and asking me to come back home and saying he didn't want to lose his best friend and didn't want to start over. This is why he wants you to stay, so he doesn't have to start over and lose his comfort. Yeah, that's totally true. He couldn't give a reason that wasn't completely about himself. Yeah. Another comment, you break up with him. Don't compromise your life goals for the sake of someone else. If you want to be a wife, you have to be with someone who wants to be a husband. I am also a victim of a guy wasting 6 years of my life knowing full well I wanted to be married and refused by the end of it. My current fiance knew by our first date I was the one and proposed very shortly after our 1-year anniversary. They know early on. Yeah, I think his whole reasoning of, oh, well, it's because this incident happened, that's why I don't want to get married. No, he knew from the beginning he didn't want to get married. He knew, but he went along with it anyways. One more comment here. He doesn't want to marry you for that incident, but he's happy to use you emotionally, sexually, and use your resources to live independently. He lied to keep you in his pocket. If he was honest when you gave him a chance to go, you would have met a guy who would have proposed and married you within the 7 years you wasted with your boyfriend. Leave and find a man who will commit and be honest. Yeah. And it's kind of tricky what this comment's saying here, because I think it is true that he is kind of using her like emotionally, sexually, and like her resources to live independently and not get married. But I also think that happens a lot unintentionally. Now, hear me out here, because while I do think what he's doing here is bad and he is the asshole, actually, this isn't even an Am I the Asshole post. While I do think what he's doing is bad, I don't think he's really doing it with malicious intent. And I only say that because I'm guilty of doing this same thing. I mean, not about getting married. Like, I'm freaking 21, but I am guilty of being like, oh, let's just see where it goes and see what happens. And I'm also guilty of compromising in what I really want out of a relationship. So I get it. And I don't think he's doing it maliciously, but it is bad. And I think at the end of the day, like, she should leave him because they clearly want different things. And I know that is really hard sometimes because you're like, oh, but I love him. I don't know what I would do without him. Like, I get it. I really do get it. This one is kind of close to home for me. we're not getting into that. But anyways, I'm trying to see if there's an update here in the comments or something. It doesn't look like she replied to any comments. No update here. So that's all we get. This was posted 1 year ago. So maybe there will be like an update like 10 years from now. That would be amazing. But that's it for that story. So next story. All right. This one comes from Am I the Asshole? And we are so back. Am I the asshole for leaving wife at home after she revealed that she was going to wear white to my brother's wedding? Okay. I'm not even going to read the story, and I'm going to say, yes, you're the asshole. Anytime you are wearing white to a wedding and that is not the theme and you were not given explicit permission to do that and you're not the bride, you are the asshole. Anyways, let's find out what the circumstances are here. So my wife and brother's wife don't get along. Well, my wife has a bit of a temper, but my sister-in-law isn't a saint as well. However, I was never going to let my wife pull something at the wedding, which she tried to wear a white dress. I explicitly told her not to even think about it. She did it once, no doubt she'd do it again. Okay, Jesus Christ. She said she wouldn't stoop to sister-in-law's level and do it, although she was mad. I was just a guest at my brother's wedding and urged me not to let it slide. I told her that if she even tried to wear white, then I wouldn't let her go through with it. She bought a black dress and said she'd wear it at the wedding, and I believed her. As we were preparing to go, she comes downstairs wearing a white strap dress. I lost it and asked what the hell was wrong with her. She said I wouldn't understand and that I shouldn't involve myself in women's disagreements. I told her to just stop and change or I wouldn't take her with me. She argued about returning the black dress because it was too tight, which was true, but I'm sure this was a deliberate move on her part. She tried to get me to let it go as we were late for the wedding, but I insisted she change. I told her she was ruining this for my brother, not just sister-in-law. She refused. I called her petty, then left. I went without her, and although everyone was asking about her, they understood why she didn't come. They assumed it's because of her beef with sister-in-law. I found about 11 texts, all containing choice words directed at me and sister-in-law. She went to stay with her sister, who got herself involved and called me and my family toxic and abusive. Mom heard, and the shit show began. Thankfully, brother and sister-in-law don't know what's going on, although mom says they deserve to know what type of person my wife is. Now I'm stuck between family and my wife who refuses to come, saying I need to make it right, whatever that means. My question is, am I the asshole for not letting her go to the wedding wearing white? Should I have just left this between her and sister-in-law? I did this for my brother. Holy fuck. This guy's wife is insane because he literally starts it off by saying she did it once, no doubt she'd do it again. Yeah, that's just insane. I mean, she's trying to do it as a form of revenge, but like, what is this revenge gonna get you? Like, if you want to get revenge on somebody, at least do it well. And that's something that's like, you know, it's like, okay, you're a bad person, but at least be good at being a bad person, because this isn't a good form of revenge. Because you show up to the wedding in a white dress, what is that gonna get you? Like, it's gonna make the sister-in-law upset, but it's not, it's going to make her upset, but it's also going to make everybody else there upset. So not only are you getting revenge on her, you're extending your revenge onto other people. And I don't really like that. It's like, okay, if you're going to get revenge on someone, at least have it just affect that one person you're trying to get revenge on. But this is literally not just affecting the sister-in-law. This would affect everybody at the wedding. And it's just taking away from like his brother, like what he's saying here. And it's just, there are so many better ways to get revenge than this. But he's asking specifically if he's the asshole for not letting her go to the wedding in a white dress. And I don't think so. I mean, like, if this story was written as, yeah, I tied her up in my basement and I wouldn't let her go. Okay, well, yeah, you probably shouldn't do that. But it's just saying that he got in the car and left, and she didn't have a way to get there. So I don't think he's the asshole for that. The way that he did it makes him not the asshole. But let's read some of the comments here, because maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe this guy is an asshole for this, and it's totally fine to wear white to a wedding. Let's see. Not the asshole. Wearing white to a wedding is an asshole move, regardless of whatever beef is going on. This is a day your brother and sister-in-law have been planning for a long time and put a lot of money into it. It's their day. You did the right thing by protecting it. Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's ever a situation that I could come across where you wouldn't be the asshole for wearing white to a wedding. Like I said, unless that's like the theme and it's like a really non-traditional wedding and whatever. But that does not seem like the case here at all. She just wants to get revenge on the sister-in-law, and she thinks this is the best way to do it. And it's also it's not, let's see another comment here, not the asshole, your wife definitely is, but I'm also not sure why you were married to someone who never left high school. Like, regardless of your sister-in-law, your wife is waving red flags in your face. She's selfish, vindictive, and doubles down on her BS. Coming from one married man to another might be smart to reevaluate things because it's only a matter of time before she starts directing it toward you if she hasn't already started. Not the asshole for the situation, but you the asshole to yourself for being married to someone who sounds so awful. Good luck. Yeah, because I mean, this guy's just like married to a total Karen, and I feel like that's so common with Karens is usually like if you see it in a video or something, if they're out with their husband or something, usually they're just like, honey, stop. Like, please. Like they know they're so bad. And like this is one of those guys that is married to those Karens. So yeah, that one's pretty easy verdict on that one. The OP's not the asshole, but the wife is the asshole. Alrighty, so our next story here also comes from Am I the Asshole? Am I the asshole for refusing to put my husband's name on the title of my house? For some important info, I, 30-year-old woman, have been married to my husband, 34-year-old man, for 8 years now. We live in a culture where you never combine your finances after marriage. Some do, but they are the exception to the rule. Also, in the event of a divorce, there is nothing like common property or anything like that. You keep what you bought and anything that has your name on it. We met while we were studying, graduated the same year, have the same primary income. I do some freelance work. We are so in tune in everything except how to spend money, and he likes travel while I am a homebody. Since the first day of marriage, I proposed that we share the expenses, rent, utilities, groceries, cleaning lady, equally, even though culturally the man is responsible for all of them. Then we should have a savings account to save for a house. He didn't want to save for a house. He said that his money is better spent on experiences, and anyway, there is nothing wrong with renting until we are in our 50s, then we can buy a house. In the end, we agreed to have a shared account for expenses, then whatever is left is ours to do with what we want. He tends to take at least 2 weekend trips with his friends, staying in expensive hotels, going to concerts. Also, even though I cook almost every meal at home, most times he would just order for lunch or dinner. I also go on weekend trips with my friends, but they are more day trips to the beach, hiking in the mountains, scuba diving. Each trip costs less than a tenth of what his trips do. Well, I have been saving for all of these 8 years, and now I'm about to close on a small apartment and pay in full, no interest or monthly payments. That's impressive. The plan is to live there, save what I am saving plus what I used to spend on rent, buy a bigger house, and rent this apartment for extra income. And now he wants me to add his name to the deed. I flat out told him no, he didn't want to save, he didn't put a cent towards the house, so his name does not go on the deed. I also told him that I plan to buy a bigger house, and now that he doesn't have to pay rent, he can save and put his share towards the next house. Then he can have his name on the deed of the house. While he called me an asshole, said that this is not what it meant to be married and took some days off to go on a trip to cool off. I don't think I'm the asshole, but I also tend to be stubborn when it comes to what I perceive as financially irresponsible. So, am I the asshole? P.S. I am not a miser. I still paid for dates, bought him gifts just because I see something he might like. Went on one expensive trip a year with him, usually abroad, etc. I just saved a lot, too. No, she's not the asshole at all. She's literally offering him to live there for free and not have to pay rent. She's literally saying, yeah, well, I'm buying this house with my money and you can live here for free so you can save too. Like, great. And he's like, no. Like, she is using her own money to literally buy a home, like in full. That is really impressive, by the way. She has enough money to buy a home in full, and he, for some reason, expects for his name to be on the deed when he is not putting in a cent of his own money. That is ridiculous. It doesn't matter if they're married or not. Just to expect that is completely unhinged. Like, it sounds like from the way that she's writing this, he just wants to be able to move into this house for free, not pay rent, so that he can use his extra money not to save, but to go on more trips and go to more parties and concerts and whatever, which, I mean, this guy's 34. I mean, this is going to sound mean, but like, he's too old to be doing that. Like, dude, you're old now. Give it up. Start saving. That's probably mean, but I don't care. Some comments here. Don't be stupid. You worked hard for what you have. Keep what's yours, yours. Oh, not the asshole too. Another comment here. Not the asshole at all. And for the love of God, do not put his name on the deeds. He put absolutely zero towards it. And you're even offering him free rent accommodation so he can save towards the bigger house. Yet he calls you an asshole. You guys need a proper sit down to discuss finances, as this is not acceptable in the slightest. If he wants to blow all his money on experiences, that's fine, but he doesn't get the security of property in return. Yeah, I totally agree. That honestly blows my mind that she's literally offering him to live there for free, and he's like, but I also want my name on the deed too. It's like when you rent a place, is your name on the deed? No. And she's literally giving you free rent and you want your name on the deed. That is completely ridiculous. One more comment, not the asshole. We have a saying here. He wants to have his cake and eat it too. Basically, he wants all his expensive trips that he pays for, and he wants you to save up and buy him an apartment with no drain in his personal resources. That's a big red flag. Do not put his name on the apartment. If you buy another place and rent this out, then make sure the new place and the rent go to you and you only. Do not let him benefit from your hard work if he isn't willing to share the efforts completely. You know, and to be completely honest with you, I would just break up with this guy for him even having the gall to say that, to have the audacity to be like, yeah, could you put me on the deed? I would be like, what are you talking about? Get out of my house that I paid for in full, no interest, no monthly payments. Get out and get on the curb, because that's ridiculous. Anyways, that's a pretty cut and dry one. That one's pretty easy. Not the asshole for OP. That one, pretty easy verdict for me on that one. Alrighty, on to our last story. And I can just tell from the title here that this one is going to be a certified hood classic. So here we go. My 23-year-old woman's boyfriend, 23-year-old man, keeps accidentally calling me his best friend's name during sex. Here we go. My boyfriend, let's call him Will, has been best friends with Caleb for about 10 to 11 years. Okay, we already know where this is going. Me and Will have been dating for about 6 months now, and things have been going really well. This has only just started to become a problem. I honestly know this sounds like a joke, and I've been scared to tell my friends because they'll either laugh at me or tell the story to other people, which would be really embarrassing. So he would accidentally call me Caleb sometimes during conversation, which I didn't mind at all. I get names mixed up all the time. But around last month in early March, he called me Caleb as I was giving him head. I would have laughed it off, but he said it so loudly and passionately that honestly, I was so shocked that I just ignored it, ? Obviously, I regret this now because eventually so much time passed that I couldn't bring it up and just kind of forgot about it. In my head, I thought it was sort of funny because the way he said it was honestly funny as hell from an outside perspective, but as his girlfriend, it was kind of worrying. Him and Caleb are very close. Okay, well, I think they're a little bit closer than that. They've lived together for almost 2 years and they know everything about each other, but I really, really doubt that they have ever been together or have had feelings for each other. Really? Okay. Blinders. Will has mentioned Caleb having an ex-girlfriend, so I'm pretty sure he's straight, and Will is definitely straight. When I ran the situation through my head, I decided to give him the benefit of the doubt. It's normal to get names mixed up sometimes, especially when you see that person every single day. I should also add that I really like Caleb and would consider him my friend. Then it happened again. This time it was during sex. My name sounds nothing like Caleb, and he straight up moaned Caleb. This time I stopped and started laughing awkwardly, thinking that Will would also be laughing that he said Caleb by accident. He just looked blanked and kind of confused for a second, and then saw that I was nervously laughing and did that awkward fake laugh for a few seconds before kissing me again. I said, "That's the second time you've done that," and he just laughed and said, "I'm an R slur. Sorry." Obviously, I was uncomfortable, but again, I thought it was just him being clumsy. Jesus Christ, how? Okay. Finally, it happened a last time last night. He moaned Caleb as we were having sex. I stopped him and sort of snapped and said, "Okay, what the fuck, dude?" And he started crying and said that he gets names mixed up because he had a kidney stone last year and it was really stressful for him and Caleb was the person who helped him through it. What the fuck? This is total BS, right? I mean, I don't know much about kidney stones, but I'm pretty sure that's not how it works. Now I'm more now I'm more worried about his weird lies excuse for doing it rather than him actually doing it. Should I be worried? Do I need to talk to him about this, or should I just end things? TLDR, my boyfriend calls me his best friend's names during sex and blames it on a kidney stone. That is insane. And again, she's got some blinders on because I'm reading this to you. You see what's going on here. I'm reading this. I see what's going on here. And somehow she does not. I don't even think I have to explain this any further. We all know what's going on here. We know what's about to happen. Top comments on this one. Dealing with kidney stones right now definitely doesn't make me scream Mike when I'm having sex. If anything, it makes me scream motherfucker in the bathroom. Do with that what you will. Someone replied to that and said, I have to say the kidney stones bit is the most far-fetched creative BS excuse I've read about in a long time. There's reaching and then there's ripping your arm off and claiming you're stretching. Okay, another comment on this one. These comments are good. And Will is definitely straight. Please don't be that naive. Guys don't call you by a man's name in bed multiple times when they're 100% straight. No, you don't understand. It's a kidney stone bros thing. That's the rule. A kidney stone means no homo. Well, yeah, of course. Okay, and I think this comment explains it well. I don't want to be that person, but are you sure he isn't in love with him or holds some romantic feelings for him? You need to sit down and have a serious discussion with him on this. I get it may happen the first time, but it happened again. Yikes. All right, so we have one update here, and like I said, this was posted in Best of Redditor updates, so I think we all know what's about to happen, but maybe I'm completely wrong. Anyways, this got a lot of attention and everyone's responses were very helpful. They made me realize how serious the whole thing is and how I was fooling myself into thinking that Will doesn't have some sort of feelings for Caleb. They live about a block away from me, so I really thought through everything I wanted to say and headed over there. Caleb answered the door and let me know that Will was picking up concert tickets and that he'd be back soon, and he let me in. I'll admit I was acting strange around Caleb because even though it isn't his fault, I still feel a bit jealous and sad. He picked up on this and asked what was wrong, and I basically broke down and asked if he and Will had ever slept together. He looked really shocked and asked why, and I ended up telling him the whole thing. He looked incredibly confused the whole time, and then when I told him about the kidney stone thing, he burst into laughter, but like manic laughter. He was shaking so much, it was like he was vibrating. Then he started crying, and I got really worried and asked what was going on. He wouldn't answer me at first, but after I insisted he tell me what's going on, he apologized to me and told me that he and Will had drunkenly slept together a handful of times over the last 2 years, and Will had wanted something more, but he didn't want a relationship with him. Eventually, Will moved on with me, and Caleb had confessed to Will that he was jealous, but he swears nothing happened between them. He prefaced the confession with, I'm not gay or anything, but like, okay, bro. Given the amount of people telling me that they thought they liked each other, I was prepared for this. The whole situation is a mess, and I think both of them need to figure things out with themselves as well as each other. I decided to leave Will a letter explaining this and left. I'm pretty upset, but luckily Will and I have only been together for less than 6 months, so I'm glad to got out of it when I did. I hope I don't bump into them at Walmart. TLDR, Caleb and Will have feelings for each other and have slept together multiple times. Yeah, so I don't think that surprised anyone except for her, because again, she had those blinders on. She couldn't see it, but all the commenters saw it. We all saw it. We knew that was going to happen. And just a word of advice, if you don't want people to know that you're gay, don't start your sentence off by saying, I'm not gay or anything, but like, because that's just a dead giveaway. All right, a comment here on that update. Caleb's explanation and further denial is delusion at its finest. Caleb, we had sex on and off multiple times and confessed feelings towards each other, but we don't think of each other that way. Yeah, sure you don't. 5 years later, we're now married and have sex every day and adopted a kid together, but not in a gay way. No homo. Okay, yeah, that one was just kind of funny, but also not really, because it sucks for her. I mean, they were all in together for 6 months, and it doesn't seem like she's really heartbroken about it, so I guess it's fine. So I am going to laugh about it because I think it's hilarious, because there's so many Reddit stories like this where man and woman are dating, guy has a best friend, definitely has feelings for the guy. Somehow the girlfriend can't see it. This is such a common thing on Reddit. It really is. And it's so funny every time how they have the blinders on and they don't see it. But that was our final story. Those are our relationship drama Reddit stories, the first edition. But I think the craziest one from today is probably the first one with the DNA paternity test. That is just insane. But it did have a good ending because she got out of it, but just the drama itself was insane. But that's it for our episode today. We'll have another one out next week. Check out our first episode on family drama here. Remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next episode.